from the Sayout community in the Saanich Nation, and I'm really happy to be gathering and speaking to you on my homeland. And I just wanted to welcome you all. Also, Nasti Kunis Jichas Tanas Chelacha at Songas is Squamalt. Just acknowledging our friends and relatives of the Songhees and the Esquimalt nations whose territory that we're also on, we share. In traditional times, it's not like there's a line and on this side is Lekwungen, on this side was Saanich. It wasn't like that. There was a considerable amount of, I guess, sharing, overlap. Our elders would say it was like a gray area. So also acknowledging them. Welcome, and I'd like to ask Carmen to come back up.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nick, for welcoming us all. And welcome on behalf of the Faculty of Education of the Unit of Indigenous Education to this wonderful presentation of a wonderful storyteller, Métis author, speaker, writer, and now discover musician, Mr. David Bouchard. It's really an honor and a pleasure to have you with us today. And yes, there are some students up in Deicho community accessing this presentation today, in the same way that we have some students in up north, up island, some students who are taking a course online. And yes, I will not take more time to introduce Mr. Bouchard, but just to say that he is an accomplished author, writer, wonderful speaker. Hopefully we'll learn how to engage our students and develop a love for writing and reading. And thank you so much for being with us today. Yeah, and I'll leave the space to you.
I don't have to tell you, the honor is mine, and I can't say how thrilled I am to be here because I live over there. It was a 10-minute drive, and hopefully my daughter will come here next year as a Métis girl student. That's my hope. I'm 4 years old. When I grow up, I'm going to go to McGill and get my doctoral degree in library science. And I would give her a 20. I swear to you, it's true. So about 2 months ago, I said, babe, are we still on? And she said, Dad, I'm not going in library science. And I said, what are you going to do? She said, I'm going to blog. And I said, and I'm going to barf. You're going to blog? She said, yes, I'm going to be a style blogger. I said, tell me how you're going to feed yourself? It's not me. You're not looking at me while you style blog. And she said, sit down. And she took me online and she showed me a number of bloggers, particularly in the UK, like the Golden Trumpet or the Golden whatever, who's got 7 million followers and who's got, and she said, Dad, look. I said, I don't want to see anymore. You go to UVic. You go UVic just for 1 year. So I think we've swung that deal for the time being. She'll blog while she's studying here. And what, I don't really know. But I'm thrilled to be here in this venue, Nick, in your territories. And the fact that you're here just makes me feel so right. Little steps, little steps. Truth and reconciliation, little steps. You're seeing them all the time. Do I trust government? No. Any level of government? No. Why? Because I'm older. I've learned that governments do what's right for government. And if they're giving us a measure of support and respect, I think they're doing it because it's right for them. I don't believe that there's somebody right there that I look at other than Bernie Sanders. Because he's old. And when you're old, you've got no reason to do people wrong. Who I don't trust is people between the ages of 12 and 74. That group there. So Bernie Sanders qualifies. And that's true. And I don't mind telling you, I didn't vote for Justin, and I don't know why I didn't. I'm a liberal. I didn't because I thought in my seat the NDP, and he did. As it turned out, he needed my support. But what I held against Justin at the time of the election was he was young and inexperienced. And when I stopped and think about it, that's what he had going for him. He was not guilty of any crimes. And every time he said, I don't know. Good, yeah. I don't know. So I'll find somebody who knows. Good. Good answer. I don't trust government. I really don't. And when you look at some of our communities, and when you think of the millions and millions of dollars that the government of Canada spent to deny First Nation, Métis and Inuit people our rights, that's just ludicrous. It's just wrong. And you know the worst part? I'm 63. I was here when it was happening, and I didn't get involved to stop it from happening. And now, I hold myself responsible for my daughter, and I try to educate my daughter to make sure that no more money spent denying us our rights, never mind treaty rights, just some basic human rights. Come on, look, just open your eyes. Thing that happened in Laloche in Saskatchewan 3 weeks ago, colleagues, there's Laloches all across Canada. I've seen them. I flew into a place called Fort Hope a couple of years ago, and I spent a week in the teachage. And when I left Fort Hope, I came home to my wife, and she said, "You've been home for a week and you haven't smiled." I said, "Vicky, there's no hope in Fort Hope." And I had dinner with a kid in jail last week who was from Fort Hope. I sat across from him. We have dinner with these kids in jail. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention that to you. I've got the greatest gig, but I want to take this off because I'm a little warm. I only wear it so you don't confuse me with being white. If I look white, it's because I've got so many white men in my woodpile. I also have an Ojibwe grandpa whose name was Pierre Charbonneau. They didn't tell me about that. I had to pay $9,000 to find out his name. And his wife, whose name was Bonne Terre, I assume she was Québécoise? No. It was the name church gave her. She's Osage. Do you want to know why I'm 6'2"? Because the Osage are the tallest natives in America, and my grandma is Osage. And then I found my dad's mom's picture, and I said, "Who's that?" And he said, "Why?" "Well, I don't know. Who is it?" "It's your grandma." I said, "Shut up. She's Innu, Montagnais." We never talked about it. My family, Fern's family, what we could do is we would try to hide it. And why? Because of everything we knew. For those who don't know, after the resistance of 1885, First Nation people could hide. They could hide in the reserves, and they had communities, and they weren't held as guilty as we were as Métis, because of all going with Riel and all of that stuff, that whole world, so we hid. And my great-grandpa, whose name was Narcisse Baudouin, changed his name. When I found his grave in Kransberg, it doesn't say Narcisse Baudouin, it says Nelson Baudouin. He changed his name to a name that he probably couldn't pronounce, so people would think he wasn't Métis. They hid it. I don't hide it. Fern, she wears it across her heart to honor her ancestors. I wear it here, so people look at me and they say, "You're Métis." I say, "Yeah, you bet I am. Of course I'm French. My name is Bouchard. My first language is French, but I'm Métis. I'm a Charbonneau, Ojibwe, Chippewa. I'm a Bonne Terre. I'm Osage, so I'm tall. I'm Innu, Montagnais. I wear my sash with pride." And in our language, we call it Saint-Sur-Féché, a belt with arrows. We wear it in ceremony, but our grandfathers wore it to keep their pants up and to keep things in. They had no pockets, so they'd put their pipe and their bullets, and they would tear it. And if they got cold, they're multi-purpose. You can see they're made of, by the way, Saint-Sur-Féché means a belt with arrows. You can see that. My grandfathers would have worn it. They'd use it comme un foulard. They'd use it comme un mouchoir. They would have used it like a rope. I use it in ceremony. And I use it when I go to Timmy's. Poor suckers at Timmy's don't have enough money to put paper towels in the bathroom and make you dry your hands in front of that stupid little silver box. If you're lucky enough to be Métis, you've got it. I can dry my hands in Tim Hortons sash. So there's that. Then, colleagues, there's my flutes, and I'd like to tell you briefly about my flutes, but before I do, I'm a storyteller. I should have known that, but when I was a kid, nobody told me I was a storyteller. I got in trouble in kindergarten. This is what I remember. "Bouchard, Bouchard, do you want to stop talking?" And I looked at the nun and I said, "Not really." Grade 4, "Bouchard, tais-toi." "Bouchard, stop talking." Fine. Grade 8, a priest looked at me and said, "Bouchard, ta gueule." That's not nice. Gueule is the mouth of an animal, not a human being. And I looked at him and I said, "You're a priest and I'm a little boy and you're not even a nice person." Not one person ever said to me, "David, you have a gift of storytelling. You seem to want to tell those things that are in your heart." And not one person ever said it. I figured it out when I was 46 years old. I was a principal in West Vancouver, and I looked at Vicky and I said, "Babe, I'm almost done, and I haven't used the gift Creator gave me." And she said, "I don't like where you're taking this." And I said, "I'm in the wrong job." And she said, "David, you've only got 6 years till you retire. Come on." I said, "I know. I got to quit." She said, "Okay, what are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to tell some stories." "To who?" I said, "Stop it. Come on, let's get a smaller house. Let's go live in Victoria, and I'm just going to tell stories." 16 years I've been on the road telling stories. Where do I get them? I get them from my genetic memories from my dream time, and I get them from places I go. So I've been to India, I've been to China. Last week I was in jail. I was in Onigaming, and then I write them in books. And I've been lucky enough to write 74 books. I'm on a roll. I've written more books than I've read. I didn't read a book till I was 27 because I'm severely dyslexic. Not stupid. I have a master's degree, honors with distinction, but I was a non-reader, and I'm not a strong reader. Now, as an adult, I don't mind telling you, 90% of the books I read, I don't read. Somebody reads them to me. Why? Because I've got a funny accent. It's a Métis accent. And if I'm going to read a book on Australia, which I just finished in the parking lot, by Bryce Courtney. Anybody know Bryce Courtney, The Power of One?
No.
Or, okay, she just rocks. The book I just finished now is called, I just finished Four Fires, and this one was called Whitehorn. Have you read it? Vicky read it like 15 years ago. And the reader, the voice that I hear, the voice actor is a guy from Australia who does amazing accents, just beautiful sound. And his name is Humphrey Bauer. I've listened to about 20 books by Humphrey. But I don't mind telling you, I didn't know if reading was going to be around in 10 years. I didn't ever plan on having somebody read me all these books. Now I listen to books that I don't have the skills to read. Have any of you read The Count of Monte Cristo? I tried it. I couldn't read it. But when I listened to it, read by John Lee, a Brit from London, oh! I've listened to all kinds of things that otherwise I would not have been available to me because of my dyslexia. And there it is. LG online, $74. So, colleagues, I write nothing more. There's just stories on paper. I don't even really like writing. I don't mind telling them. And then somehow or another put them on paper. So, and these, well, this is a gift. And if you don't mind my teaching you, I don't know how many of you have a story for where we get Mother Earth. I mean, everybody knows the term Mother Earth. So I ask you this. Where does Mother Earth come from? Who invented the term Mother Earth? Why is it Father Sky, Grandfather Sun, Grandmother Moon? Why Mother Earth? Where does that come from? I can teach you that. I can also teach you something about the respect that we as Indigenous people have for nature. Why is it that you look at people who are a lot like Nick and say, what is it about the environment that motivates you? Why is it you seem to be attuned with that cedar tree? Why is it that you seem to have a relationship with the ocean that we really don't have? Come on, we're evangelists. I've been watching too much CNN, haven't I? We're not evangelists. Nor is Donald Trump. This is a flute made of cedar by a woman in California. It's my most expensive flute. When Vicky saw it, she said, how much? And I said, Vicky, there's a lot more to life than money. And she said, oh yeah, how much? And I said, $1,200. And she said, you know that's stupid. I said, I know. Sweetie, I swear to God, I'll never do it again. Here's what happened. She made the flute to go with my book, Raven's Greatest Creation. Vicky, and look, here she carved gagagi, raven, gagagi in our language, in the Ojibwe language. And here on the side she carved, you can see makwa, bear, in Ojibwe, Chippewa. Cree people call it maswa. And there you can see wolf, we say mashkan. And up top you can see a little beaver, we say amek. And Vicky, check this out. It's a story that comes from the heart. Come on in, you two, we're just getting started. The Haudenosaunee will tell you that there's a world up there. It's always been and it'll always be. They call it Sky World. And the most beautiful woman in Sky World was Raven's daughter. I say Raven respectfully referring to Creator, Creator's daughter. She was charming, kind, giving, loving. She had everything going for her, but one problem. And her one problem was that she used to like to sit by a hole in the clouds and look down at Earth. And Earth was nothing but a sphere of water surrounded by heavenly stars. And every day Raven would walk by and he'd see his daughter and he'd say, oh baby, back away. Sweetheart, back away from the hole. If you fall through, you know I can't bring you out. And she'd say, I know, Dad, but I'm not going to fall. Look at this cluster of stars. Can you see them there? And Creator would say, honey, I know where they are. I've created them all. Babe, would you back up a little bit? She said, I won't. And she fell. The Haudenosaunee will tell you that Raven's daughter, Creator's daughter, fell from Sky World and he couldn't bring her back. It was the only thing he couldn't do, but he could create. And the minute he saw his daughter fall, he leaned over and snapped his fingers. And two clouds took on the shapes of humongous swans and shot down and grabbed her by her arms and started to lower her towards the water. And as they lowered her, he wasn't going to let his baby hit the water, so he leaned over and he snapped. And a humongous turtle was created and came from the water and allowed those swans to lower her onto the back of that turtle, and there she lived. And that's where I changed from the Haudenosaunee telling to our Ojibwe telling. We speak of a big flood. And on that big flood, Raven's daughter, or Sky Woman, was living there, and all of the water creatures loved her. She had it all going on. But they didn't want her to live on a turtle. They wanted to live on Earth, and where was the only place you could get dirt? at the bottom of the water. So what did they do? One by one they dove. And one by one they sacrificed themselves for her. They died. Beaver dove and died. Otter dove and died. One by one until finally the little water rat, the muskrat, came up with a fistful of mud, sacrificing his life for her and for us, and gave it to her. And Raven's daughter took that mud, spread it on the outside of the shell of the turtle. It got bigger, 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 and it became Turtle Island. And she became our mother, Earth. And oh, she was beautiful. Mountains, valleys, rivers, creeks, streams, plains. She was stunning. And Raven looked down at his baby and was so, so proud of her. But she was alone. And would he have that? No. So what did he do? Snapped his fingers and created the four-leggeds. He snapped and he created the flyers. He snapped and he created the crawlers. And one day he came down to visit his creations and his little girl, and he gathered them all and he said, friends, come. I've just completed my greatest creation, and I'm going to bring it down tomorrow. You won't believe it. It is so exciting for me to tell you. It's coming tomorrow. That is a little bit Chippewa, a little bit Ojibwe, and a little bit Haudenosaunee. And now let me tell you what they say in BC. You know what I learned when I came here, when I went to the airport? I learned that the belief was that the first two-legged came down in a clamshell. So I incorporate that into my global telling as a Métis person, and I say, Raven came down from Sky World with this huge clamshell in his claws, and as he lowered, they were all arguing about what we'd look like. If we were Raven's greatest creations, we would be awesome. Bear said, it's going to be bigger than me. Fur, claws, fangs. And Eagle said, no, it's going to look more like me. You watch, he might put colors in its wings, but it's going to be me. And the fish said, it's going to look like killer whale, only it's good. They argued, the only thing they agreed on was one thing, we were going to rock. So when the Raven landed with that clamshell, they stopped arguing, their mouths dropped, and Bear broke the silence by saying, Raven, is that it right there? Raven said, Bear, that's it. And Bear said, can I start with the obvious? It's naked. And Raven said, yeah, it is. Bear said, you going to put fur in that thing? Raven said, nope, it's going to stay like that. Bear said, it's going to die. That thing's going to freeze. It won't get through one winter. It's gone. And the mountain lion looks at Raven, I don't see any claws or fangs. How do you expect it to hunt? And Raven said, it's going to hunt because I've given it little tricks. It's not going to have fangs or claws. And Eagle looked and said, hey, Raven, it's got no wings. Will it grow wings or will it always be bound to the earth? And Raven, who was the trickster and liked to speak in riddles, said, Eagle, never have wings, but it doesn't mean it'll never fly. And the snake said, Raven, 2 short appendages and 2 were long. What's it going to do? Walk on 4, crawl on the ground? And Raven said, neither, snake. It's going to walk on two legs. Bear got back up and said, Raven, why are you doing this? Look at us. We're all in shock. Can I start with the obvious? Look at my size, my power, my fur, my claws and fangs. I can hardly survive. How do you expect that sick-looking thing to survive? And Raven looked at us right there. You see where that sick-looking thing lacks in your size and power? I've given it a bit more intelligence. Where it lacks in cougar speed and agility, I've given it dreams. You know what it needs? It needs to wake it up, somebody to wake it to its dreams and its potential, and it's going to need good teachers. And for good teachers, I'm going to give it the best. Bear, I want you to teach my creation. Courage I see in you when your babies are threatened. And he looked around and spotted Wolf and said, Wolf, I want you to teach my new creation that the pack is more important than the individual. You teach it to be humble. He looked around and he spotted Beaver and said, Beaver, nobody works as hard as you do. I want you to give it your work ethic, and I want you to make sure it understands that it has to use the gift it's been given. Eagle, you're my best friend. You tell it it's got to feed its body, but you make sure it comes to understand that it has a soul to nourish. Eagle, you show it the path to my lodge. I've given every one of you a gift. Let's share it. Let's make it our creation. Raven walked over. He put his wings on that clamshell, and when he released it, the shell was empty, and there he stood, naked. No fur, no claws, no wings, no talons, just the way you see us today. And colleagues, friends, we were surrounded by the best teachers that Turtle Island would ever come to know. This is what the flute looks like. This is what the book looks like. It's called Raven's Greatest Creation. And here's my question. Who can tell me 2 lessons that I taught you through the telling of that story? So if you were kids or adults, what 2 lessons did you learn about our culture, about our situation here? Somebody raise your arm and tell me 2 lessons that you learned. I already told you one. In fact, I think I told you both. Anybody?
We exist in relation to nature.
Absolute sure. We are all one family. We are. And another one?
I'll let someone else.
Well, I'll give you the book if you can tell me one more.
We all want special gifts.
Oh, don't we? There's your gift. Oh. You're very welcome. By the way, colleagues, for those who don't know, I've been doing my books in languages. Inside my books, you'll see that this particular book is in Ojibwe. So when you open it and you read it, you'll see English, Ojibwe. Or if you buy the French version, en français, en Ojibwe. And in the background, you can hear the flute music. I know. That was initially. Now I've kind of progressed from that. I don't put CDs anymore. They're downloads. And a little gift for you. You're very welcome. Colleagues, let me take